Hi, my name is Chris. I have noticed on the forums that for quite a while now, there's been a lot of questions about the beefcake racing torque booster, which is essentially just a wastegate on the cold side piping. It seems every few weeks, every month, someone's asking questions about this. So I thought perhaps making a video about it, kind of giving the ins and outs, would be helpful. So people don't have to wade through, you know, 50 posts with, 40 responses each, of half of it being complete nonsense bullshit and the other half being good information. So I thought I'd make a quick summary about it. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet, and let's get started. So, quick background on me for a frame of reference is I did work as an automotive tech in a performance shop for a while. I no longer do that. I pursued a career elsewhere because I got a good opportunity. But just for a frame of reference, that is my background. So this is pictured in front of us, the torque booster from Beefcake Racing for the Paxton 2200. And I'm going to be talking about this in relation to the S550 platform. So it comes with this. It comes with a cold side pipe with a flange welded on, and then it also comes with the TurboSmart Hypergate 45 mil. And this is a great wastegate. I've used it on other applications, and it works great. It works equally well on this application. I did use the Gates Green 100 belt, and I would definitely recommend that, as a lot of the people that you will see that are having issues with belt slip are using the black belt that comes with the Paxton kit. And I've had zero slip problems with my green belt, so I would definitely recommend getting that. For the S550 platform, I would recommend the 333 pulley, which is also what's recommended on the website. With that setup, it comes in at $760, I believe, which it's a pretty cheap mod for the power that you're getting back. And let's get into it. So here is the difference in pulley size if you haven't changed pulleys before or seen different pulleys, just to give you an idea. The 333 versus the 38, it's quite a bit smaller, so it's definitely going to be spinning quicker. Here is a picture of it installed on the car. And the installation is very simple. It's just a matter of getting the car in the air, and you drop the splash guard, pull the old pipe out, put the new one in. And I would recommend, however, removing the air box and also the MAF sensor. Remove the mass airflow sensor. And the reason I say that is because anytime you're messing with piping, it doesn't fit exactly perfect. You're going to have to be pulling and torquing it around a little bit. And the last thing that you want is to be on the bottom side of the car moving stuff around and not realizing that you're pressing the mass airflow sensor up against something and it's about to break, because they do break relatively easily, and that's an expensive mistake that you don't want to make. Changing the spring on this particular wastegate is very easy. I would recommend removing it from the piping to do so. So once you get the V-clamp undone and get the wastegate off the piping, you're just going to unscrew the collar, apply some downward force on the wastegate cap here so the spring doesn't shoot it in your face or across the room. But get your new spring in there. Make sure everything's seated properly when you push the cap back down, and tighten the collar back. There is instructions on TurboSmart's website if you would like to refer to that. But I'm sure there's videos on YouTube out there on how to do that. It's very simple. The main thing is just to make sure it's seated properly. A question I do see come up in most of the posts is how it changes the sound of the blow-off valve, which the smaller pulley, the 333, will significantly raise the volume of the blow-off valve, especially if you have an aftermarket blow-off valve, which most people do on this particular setup. So as you can see, it definitely is pretty loud. It's definitely no longer a sleeper. Anytime you're not in boost, which is the majority of the time you're driving around, you're definitely going to hear it. But I think it sounds pretty dope, personally, so I don't mind. I think it's cool. But if you're trying to fly under the radar and, I don't know, be a sleeper car and blast people off the road that aren't expecting it, then it's probably not going to be for you. So let's talk about data logs. And the reason that I bring up data logging for this is another one of the questions or areas of concern that I see mentioned in these posts is, do I need a tune revision? And the answer to that is absolutely. You'd be crazy not to data log it and get a tune revision. And it may be more dramatic depending on your particular application and who did the initial tuning. But let's look at mine. This is, and I'll preface this with saying it was dialed in perfect before I did the pulley and wastegate change. My fuel trims were solid. Everything was copacetic. So this is after the wastegate with a 10-pound spring, and this is before I revised the tune. So let's look at the short-term fuel trims. And I'm going to be looking at these numbers right here. So as we go up the RPMs, you can see that it starts to steadily climb. Then all the way at the top, we're up to 120 on bank 2, which a short trim of 120 is that it's running out of fuel. That is a direct indication that it's running out of fuel up top. And if you are to look at the AFR numbers here where my mouse is, up top it's in the 8s. It's 8.6, 8.7. And for a forced induction application, that's pretty high. And especially up top, that's not where you want to run out of gas. It can definitely be problematic for your engine in terms of blowing the shit up. So that's not what you want. So now let's open up a data log for the 10-pound wastegate after the tune revision and see the differences. So let me get the data points that we need. All right, so let's look at the fuel trims on this one, the short terms. So here you can see it's holding steady, and it even starts to drop at the top end. So at the top end, we're at 0.98, 0.95, and it looks like the highest it is over the curve is 105 at around 4,000 RPMs. And that is definitely in the safe zone. In a perfect world, it would be 1.00, but no one's fuel trims are perfect through the whole curve. It's not. But the takeaway from this is that it's going down as the RPMs are going up, and that means it's getting plenty of fuel. And you can look at the AFR over here at the top end is 74 or 77. So that is an indication that everything is happy. You're not experiencing a lean condition, and you would just be crazy not to get a revision after putting this part in because you're moving so much more air. So in reference to moving air, let's look at some of the power differences. So here I have a chart that is a bolt-ons and then the Paxton with a 3.8 and Paxton with a 333 and the 10-pound wastegate. So we're looking at an RPM curve, and the data points that we are looking at is MAF pounds per minute. Mass airflow pounds per minute is a representation of how much air is going through the car, so to speak, vaguely, so to speak. And it is a decent ballpark of power. You'll probably hear a lot of tuners out there say that it is, you can multiply that by 10 and it's a representation of flywheel horsepower. And you'll hear others that say it's not even close, that there's, a lot of things that go into it. There is a lot of things that go into it, and it is a very general representation, but for the purposes of comparing before and after, it's a great representation of whether it's increasing in power or not. So here we can see even as low as 4,000 RPMs, 3,500, it's making substantially more power. There's not a good way to estimate torque without, just using a dyno, so I don't have any numbers to give you on that. But I can tell you just from driving the car that the differences in torque is significant, just as significant as the power differences down low. So you can pause that if you want to review the table and kind of see what I'm talking about. But it is significant. The proof's in the data. It definitely is a completely different car. Another topic of concern with this is whether or not but people are struggling to hold boost. Some people are under boosting, some people are over boosting with this setup, and 99 times out of 100 it's because they're trying to throw a boost controller on top of the wastegate. And boost controllers are fantastic, and they have their place and purpose, especially in turbocharged applications, but a centrifugal wastegated setup just doesn't seem to be happy with a boost controller. It just, for whatever reason, is beyond my scope of knowledge. It just, people tend to struggle with it. And my recommendation to that is just to pick a spring weight and go with that. I use a 10-pound spring on my setup, and it holds it all day long. Here is a video, and I let off the gas and then hit it again just to demonstrate that it's holding tight and not getting any boost creep. So as you can see, it definitely holds it with just the spring setup alone and not a boost controller. You're more than welcome to try the boost controller, but it doesn't work very well for many people. So kind of my final thoughts on it is it definitely is worth the money, especially if you're doing just kind of hooning around, doing stupid shit, where you want your power for the purpose of that is down low. And while it's not going to be positive displacement blower power, it's going to be damn close. It makes the power pretty quick. And for everyone that, another thing that's always brought up is you're going to be overspinning the blower with a 333 pulley. And that's true. If you are going past 7,400 RPMs, that's kind of the cutoff point. That's when you're technically, as per Paxton's numbers for their max blower speed, you're going to be overspinning the blower at that point. However, for my purposes, I shift below that anyways, because I'm not doing a lot of racing. I don't live, to do roll races from 70 to 150, so I don't spend a lot of time in the higher RPM range. But with that being said, there's plenty of people out there that do, and there's plenty of people that have never had to rebuild their head unit. But you do hear about people that are overspinning it that end up having to have it rebuilt, and generally they just end up going to an oil-fed head unit. So I hope that helped answer any questions or address kind of the concerns that I see over and over again on this particular subject. I'd recommend it in a heartbeat. If you're on the fence, do it. Don't even think about it. It's easy mod, and just make sure that you data log and get your tune revised if necessary, which I can almost guarantee it'll be necessary. But it's a lot of fun, and I hope this helps anybody that was looking for it.